What if Cleopatra was alive today? How would the world react to her presence? We can't say for sure, but we can imagine what would happen based on how people reacted to her back in ancient times. Join us as we uncover the secrets of this amazing queen and find out what would happen if she were alive today. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC in the city of Alexandria, which at that time was part of the Ptolemaic kingdom. She was the last active ruler of that kingdom and the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Cleopatra's story is a fascinating one, filled with adventure, romance, and tragedy. When Cleopatra was just 14 years old, she became the co-regent of the Ptolemaic kingdom alongside her father, Ptolemy the 12th. But their partnership didn't last long. After just 2 years, Cleopatra's father died and she had to take over the kingdom all by herself. But being so young, she was unable to rule on her own and instead had to share power with her younger sister, Arsinoe the 4th. Unfortunately, the sisters had a strained relationship and were constantly fighting with each other. This made it difficult for them to govern effectively and keep order in the kingdom. Things got so bad that Ptolemy who was another one of Cleopatra's younger brothers, decided to flee to Rome for protection. When he arrived there, he made an appeal to the Roman Senate and asked them to help him get the throne back. The Senate agreed and sent back an army to take control of the kingdom. This put Cleopatra in a very difficult situation. On one hand, she didn't want to lose her power and status. On the other hand, she also didn't want to risk the safety of her and her people by going to war with the Roman army. In the end, she chose to make a deal with her brother Ptolemy the 13th, and they became lovers as well as But even though they were now a couple, their shared power didn't last long. Just 2 years into their partnership, Ptolemy the 13th died under mysterious circumstances, and once again, Cleopatra found herself in a position where she had to rule alone. This time around, she managed to hold on to her power for much longer than before, ruling for a total of 21 years until her death in 30 BC. But even though she was successful in keeping her throne, Cleopatra still had to deal with a lot of challenges during her reign. One of the biggest ones was the fact that her kingdom was constantly in danger of being invaded by outside forces. At the time, Egypt was surrounded by powerful empires such as the Seleucids, the Nabateans, and the Romans. All of them were interested in expanding their territory, and Egypt was seen as a valuable target. In order to protect her kingdom, Cleopatra had to form alliances with some of these outside powers. For example, she made a marriage alliance with the king of Nabatea. But this didn't stop the Seleucids from invading her territory. As you can see, Cleopatra's life was full of ups and downs. Sometimes she was able to maintain peace and stability in her kingdom, while at other times she had to fight for her survival. Her story is a reminder that no matter how powerful or wealthy someone is, they are always vulnerable to the forces of fate. If Cleopatra were alive today, she would be considered a true celebrity. She was known for her intelligence, wit, and charm, as well as her stunning looks and regal bearing. Cleopatra was also a patron of the arts and sciences and was well versed in a variety of subjects. She would have been a natural at giving lectures and seminars, and her knowledge and insights would have been highly sought after. But perhaps Cleopatra's greatest asset would be her ability to connect with people on a personal level. She was known for her kindness and compassion, as well as her ability to make everyone around her feel welcome and important. In today's world, Cleopatra would have been a master networker, and her people skills would have made her a top-notch salesperson. Cleopatra was also a shrewd politician and strategist, and she would have been well-suited for a career in government or diplomacy. She was skilled at negotiation and conflict resolution, and she knew how to build alliances and get things done. However, Cleopatra was also a strong-willed and determined woman, and she wouldn't have been afraid to speak her mind or stand up for what she believed in. She would have been a fearless leader and a vocal advocate for justice and equality. One of Cleopatra's most famous love affairs was with the Roman general Julius Caesar. Their romance was said to have been passionate and intense, and it resulted in the birth of their sons. But, unfortunately, their relationship was doomed from the start as Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC. This left Cleopatra without a powerful ally, and she had to be cautious about how she handled herself in the future. She quickly found a new lover in Mark Antony, who was one of Caesar's close friends and a powerful member of the Roman But this relationship also proved to be tumultuous and ultimately tragic, as Antony was defeated by Octavian, Caesar's adopted son and heir, in 32 BC. As a result, Cleopatra and Antony were both forced to commit suicide, and their kingdoms of Egypt and Rome came to an end. What if Cleopatra had lived beyond those dark times? What kind of a life would she have lived? How would she have impacted the world around her? Let's explore some possible scenarios. If Cleopatra had lived beyond her tragic end, she may have gone down in history as one of the greatest rulers of all time. Cleopatra was known for her intelligence, ambition, and determination. She was a skilled diplomat and military strategist who was able to hold her own against some of the most powerful men in the ancient world. If she had lived longer, she may have been able to expand her kingdom and leave behind a lasting legacy. For example, Cleopatra could have continued her alliance with Rome and become a key player in the Roman Empire. She could have used her wealth and resources to build new cities and infrastructure, as well as to patronize the arts and sciences. Her kingdom would have become a center of culture and trade, attracting merchants, scholars, and artists from all over the known world. Additionally, Cleopatra could have played a major role in shaping the course of Roman history. She had a good relationship with some of the most powerful figures in Rome, such as Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. If she had lived longer, she could have used her influence to help steer Rome away from civil war and tyranny and towards a more stable and prosperous future. She could have helped to usher in an era of peace and cooperation between Rome and Egypt, which would have benefited both kingdoms. However, if Cleopatra had chosen to align herself with the wrong people, she could have ended up making things worse. The Roman Empire was a dangerous place for foreign rulers, and Cleopatra's ambitions could have led her into conflict with the wrong people. If she had been too ambitious or too eager to assert her power, she could have triggered a chain of events that led to the destruction of her kingdom and the enslavement of her people. Even though we will never know what would have happened if Cleopatra had lived longer, we can be sure that she would have left her mark on history. She was a brilliant and complex figure who could have gone down in history as one of the greatest rulers of all time or one of the most tragic victims of circumstance. Either way, Cleopatra's story is a reminder that the course of history is always uncertain and that even the most brilliant minds can sometimes meet a tragic end. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think Cleopatra would have been like if she were alive today? How would she have changed the world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching!